Hello and welcome to the SCI Guys, the show where we talk about the crazy, weird, and wonderful stories from the science world. I'm Corey, and as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Jamp and Luke Cutforth.
Yes, you are.
Hi, howdy.
This week, we're talking about additional digits and promoting plasticity. But first, we have a Spotify update.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So we set a challenge for, was it 35k?
So we haven't hit 35k.
Ah.
Now, the reason for that is that we recorded that episode about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
The illusion is broken. Sorry.
and this episode is being recorded, I think, maybe a week in advance. Or a couple weeks. Anyway, there's not enough time. We're on 32,000, which means that by the time this episode comes out, we should be on 35,000.
Yeah.
And if we're not, we'll end SCI Guys forever.
Okay.
So if you want to keep on listening to SCI Guys, you need to follow us on Spotify and get all your friends to do it too, or there won't be any SCI Guys left for anyone.
And if you can't find Side Guys, then you know what happened.
Yeah, because we won't just stop making it. We're taking it down.
Taking it down.
Taking it down. A question, though, for everyone watching and listening. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else, head over to YouTube and get into the comments and answer this question for us. Would you want to become a cyborg?
No.
No.
I don't believe in this, but hey, well, I'm sure we'll get into it.
Are you kidding me? You wouldn't want to be a cyborg?
Oh, hang on. Which one's a cyborg?
The cyborg, human and
Human
technology.
and
Well, I've got
mix.
bits of robot.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, great.
Oh, just not a fully fledged one.
I thought you were talking about uploading my consciousness into a robot.
Oh god, no, that's
Oh,
horrifying.
no,
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 terrible
no,
idea.
no.
Awful. No, I can't even function. Like, printers don't work. What would make you think that a human with a human uploaded into a robot would work? Absolutely not. No chance.
Yeah, but just enhanced features of
Yeah.
the body. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we
already are.
almost there.
Yeah. I don't remember anything. My phone does it for me.
Well, yeah.
Oh, very true.
Well, I do it for you.
And you. and my wife.
Between the three of us, we really got
And my
Luke
friend
down.
Charlie.
Yeah, look, you don't need to
Wow.
upload your consciousness. You just need the four of us to get together.
Yeah. You've already uploaded it to other people.
Yeah, I've outsourced.
So you often hear that your brain is plastic, right?
No, it's made of flesh and stuff. It's made of brain.
But yes, you do often hear that your brain is plastic. By the definition of plastic.
No.
Got written here, Jamp, meaning that it can adapt and change to new things.
Plastic's not good for the environment.
Right, okay. So your brain isn't good for the environment either.
No, it's really not.
What happens, though, when you introduce something like an extra thumb to your body? How would your brain react? Luckily, scientists are on the case and are researching this right now.
Extra digits.
Yeah, extra
Makes
digits.
sense. There we go.
Exactly.
Introduce an extra thumb.
Yeah.
As in, like, so you have 6 fingers.
Oh, I've seen videos of this.
So this is a copy of Portico.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't know what Portico is, it means you didn't go to UCL, and it means
I did not.
just not
Got
quite
that
as
right.
cool as most people that went to UCL, like me.
I mean, didn't the guy who invented eugenics go to UCL?
Well, lots of people went to UCL. Okay.
They're not all
Jeremy
cool,
Bentham he was a philosopher. He was stuffed.
Yeah.
Very cool. Ricky Gervais went to UCL.
Did he? I didn't know that.
Christopher Nolan went to UCL.
Oh, that's cool.
I went to UCL.
Wow.
Sammy
Finishing
Paul
off the
went
list
to
of-
UCL.
Whoa. The list just keeps getting greater.
I want to go to UCL. Do you?
I went to UCL.
Did
Tara
you?
Mooney.
No.
Tara Mooney on YouTube went to UCL. Check
Nice.
out Tara Mooney on YouTube.
Like Smash Bros. It's just like announcing a lineup.
Who else? Oh, there's one other influencer.
Mario
that
went to
there's one other
UCL.
influencer. Amber Doig-Thorne went
Oh,
to
yeah.
UCL
There
as
you
well.
go.
There you go. All
Very
of us
good.
UCL alum.
Cool. Wow.
I did not go to UCL.
On the shoulders of giants.
So, UCL sent me a copy of Portico, as they do. It's sort of an alumnus magazine or whatever. I don't really know. I don't usually read it voraciously. But I was flicking through, looking for sciencey things to do for this podcast. And I came across this thumb project, this extra thumb project. And I thought, wow, this is really, really cool. So I emailed the person that was working on it, and she's very, very busy. She's not here today, unfortunately. But she was very, very lovely and very, very kind. And I really, really want to go through this because it's very, very interesting. So this third thumb, it was developed by someone called Danny Claude, I think is how you pronounce her name. Didn't Didn't look. Probably should have done that. Probably should look that up, but I didn't. So it was designed as part of a grad project at the Royal College of Art in 2017. Now, she is from New Zealand. She did her undergrad at Victoria University in Wellington and then moved to London to study at the RCA. And here's a quote from her. She wants to challenge the perception of prosthetics to shift the focus of fixing disability to extending ability. She's also said that the origin of the word prosthesis meant to add or put onto, so not to fix or replace, but to extend. The third thumb is inspired by this word origin, exploring human augmentation and aiming to reframe prosthetics as an extension of the body. Now, these quotes are both from Design magazine, I believe, like design and zine put together. Yeah,
that's very good.
It's very clever.
Yeah,
it took me a bit to figure that one out, but when I did,
I wouldn't have got it.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Tough cookie to crack. So that's a kind of concept behind the third thumb. What are you thinking right now?
I'm thinking, why stop at 3? You've got 2 hands. You may as well have 4 thumbs. Why are you stopping at 3? Let's put another one on.
So that actually leads me on to asking you, how do you think the third thumb works? Because that will answer your question once you figure out how it works. Do you have any idea how one might control this extra appendage?
I was wondering if basically the bending of your extra thumb is mapped to the bending of your other thumb.
Do you want to have a look at the thumb? It works independently. So do you want to have a look at the thumb?
I do.
Please.
So you can see the thumb there.
This guitar one.
It works I'll say this. It works entirely independently from both of your hands.
Wow.
So when I say it works independently, what I mean is that thumb is not controlled by either of your hands. Because think about it, if it was controlled by either of your hands...
it's not like it's copying your other thumb.
Yeah, no. Because if it was controlled by your other hand, then you wouldn't be able to do two-handed operations. You'd basically be as dexterous as someone with one hand but 2 thumbs.
Yeah.
Rather than someone with 2 hands and 2 thumbs, which... you don't want to limit the dexterity. You want to add on to the dexterity there. So how do you think this is controlled? And I'll tell you this. It's non-invasive and it is very, very interesting.
Non-invasive?
Non-invasive.
It's controlled by another part of the body.
Yes, another part of the body.
Okay, so it's not anything to do with the hands or the arms.
Nothing to do with the hands or
arms.
Is
it legs?
It's not toes, is it?
There you go. It's toes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is why you can only have one right now, because it's controlled by sort of pressure sensors under the big toes. And both toes.
Are the pressure sensors in your shoe?
They're under your toe.
On the floor or
I
on
think they're on the toe. I've not seen a sort of very specific way of
but you can walk around.
So you can walk around. Now you can so you can't
every step you take your extra thumb is bending.
No, so you can't operate it whilst walking.
Okay.
But you can walk around with it without your thumb, I think, going nuts, I guess. Or maybe you must have to turn it off when it... I'm not exactly sure specifically how it works in all of those sort of different sort of fringe scenarios. I do know how it works sort of in practice when it's in the ways that it's supposed to be used. So, obviously, as you've seen, you can see from the picture, it's worn on the opposite side of the hand from your natural thumb. So it's kind of like having... kind of like this,
like a symmetrical hand,
a mirror image.
Hello,
yeah.
I have 2 thumbs.
That's so
great
cool.
podcast
I wish we actually
content, Corey.
Oh yeah, I'm explaining it for the audio and showing for the video.
It's like
watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's worn on the opposite side of the hand from your normal biological thumb, obviously. And as I said, it's controlled through pressure sensors on the bottom of the big toes. So I think it is on the bottom of your toe, and you press it down into the sort of shoe or ground. And you've got battery packs on your sort of ankles, like ankle bracelets, and it's wirelessly connected to the thumb. So you don't have wires running up your body. It sort of sends the wireless signal.
Wow.
So this is a quote. It says, pressure exerted with the right toe pulls the thumb across the hand, whereas pressure exerted with the left toe pulls the thumb upwards towards the finger. The extent of the thumb movement is fully proportional to the pressure applied, so the thumb can be used while sitting or standing, but not whilst walking.
So you've essentially got 2 axes of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's pretty good, to be honest.
And which one bends it?
Well, that's that. Both of them are bending. There's two joints where they bend.
Yeah, but what I mean is you've got like the x-axis, which is across the hand, and then you've got like
I think it probably curves.
the y-axis.
I think across the hand it probably like curves.
Oh yeah. Okay, so when it goes towards the hand, it also curls in.
Yeah.
So you can't do what you probably, if you're listening and have a thumb, can do, which is that you can move your thumb towards your hand without bending it. You can't do that.
So if everyone gets their thumbs out, everyone get your thumbs
Yep.
out. Thumbs out.
Yep.
There we
Got
go.
it.
You can move that in basically any direction you want, right? You can all around, right? But with this other thumb, with this third thumb,
Yeah.
you can obviously only move in two directions. Luke, get your thumb out of the camera. I have peripheral vision. I don't know. I feel like a teacher, and there was a kid who thinks that I cannot see him at the back
Stop
of the
messing
class.
about. I can hear you.
I can see that far. You can with this other thumb, it's obviously only got sort of two directions that it can move, and so it has sort of more. I guess it has more sort of automatic processes in how it bends and curls.
Mm-hmm.
But it even a thumb that can only move with sort of 2 degrees of freedom.
Yeah.
Is better than
having
not
no
having
thumb.
another
not
thumb.
having an extra thumb. And even it's still very, it can still be very useful, as we'll find out. So this way of controlling the thumb, it might sound odd, controlling it with your toes, which it does sound a little bit weird, making a little thing on your hand move with your toes. But if you think about it, it makes quite a lot of sense, because people use their hands and feet simultaneously for so many different tasks. Like a ton of. Can you think of anything that you would use your hands and feet simultaneously to sort of do something?
Cross trainer.
No.
Oh.
Playing tennis.
No. No.
No, that's true.
No.
Yeah.
What I mean is,
Driving a car.
there we go.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, of course.
Simultaneously for the same task. So
Right.
Mhm.
playing
Playing
tennis.
tennis.
No, because that's.
I was going to say monkey bars.
Okay. No,
Only for using your feet.
that is.
That's using your legs.
Monkey bars is literally just using your hands.
No, you can
No,
swing
but you
yourself.
can swing
with your
yourself
legs.
up.
Okay.
But
Right.
it's with your legs, not with your feet.
Okay. Let me
Okay.
let me be clearer. People using their hands and feet simultaneously
Yeah.
for a single task. Right now.
Climbing a ladder.
No.
Running on all fours.
Right. Listen to me. You got to think of this not as
Kicking and slapping someone at the same time.
See, that's 2 tasks doing it at the same
Oh.
time.
Beating someone up with all limbs.
That's
Mm.
So with the difference between sort of running and tennis and all of these things and driving
Yeah.
is that with sort of tennis, running is something that you're used to, right?
Yeah.
And you're just swinging your arms, right? They're generally kind of how to put this? They are separate actions from each other, right?
Yeah.
In
Mhm.
tennis, you run and you swing your arm. Those are not the same task mentally that you need to perform, right?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need to do that at the same time. Whereas with driving, you need to be controlling things with your hands and your feet at the
Yeah.
same time. So
So
let's say you want to shift
You're
gears.
operating the same vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you want to shift gears, you need to use your hands and feet simultaneously
Yeah.
in order to shift gears,
Yeah.
right? If you want to turn a corner, you need to slow down and turn with your
Yeah.
hands and feet at the same time.
Yeah.
So there's also other things like playing a piano, for example. You can use your hands and
Oh,
feet
yeah.
both times
Very
for that.
true.
Sewing machine, if you do that sort of pottery or clay thing where
Mm.
you're
Mhm.
spinning the thing with your foot and you're shaping with your hands,
Playing drums.
that's the next thing that was on my list.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a number of different things where it involves using your hands and feet simultaneously, right? So you're able to do that. And I think if you think about this in the sort of context of a car,
Mm.
it kind of makes sense, because if I feel like on the face of it, and a lot of people might be thinking, oh, how are you able to control a thumb with your feet and not have that feel really, really unnatural and weird?
Yeah.
If you are able to drive, think about how you don't ever think about driving.
Or
Yeah.
how it felt to drive when you couldn't drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but like, how long does it take to start driving, right? And then not think about driving.
Not very long.
Not long.
No.
Not long at all. Like I can drive without thinking about it so easily that
Yeah.
when I have to get into Luke's car and drive that, it's incredibly difficult because
Because you don't need to use your feet as much.
you don't need to use your feet.
Yeah.
Because
an
Luke's got-
automatic car.
Yeah, Luke's got an automatic car,
Yeah.
which means it's a go kart. You press go and stop.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it.
The go and stop buttons.
So fun. It literally has a start button
Yeah.
Which
and a stop button.
for me, right, as someone that has basically only drives manual,
Yeah.
trying to drive an automatic car feels like trying to walk with an extra leg.
Yeah.
It's just suddenly I've been given an extra leg.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do I do with this?
I have a leg that's not doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. Like you would fall over, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what it feels like when you're driving a car. The car is just an extension of your body, and when you use a tool, it's slightly different than driving a car, because using a tool, it's usually just an extension of your body, but in the sense that it's replacing sort of the function of your hand there, right?
Mm.
And you're gripping it, and then you can kind of feel, okay, I'm hitting this hammer. And it's basically just a fist. It's just a harder fist,
Yeah.
slightly farther away from my
Yeah.
body, right?
Yeah.
Whereas driving, the car becomes an extension of you, and you can feel how far away the car is from a wall,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
despite the fact that
Some people can.
There are accidents.
yeah, I mean, people have accidents, you know, with people bump into each other anyway, you know. But my point is that a car becomes an extension of you, and that's a very natural thing. It feels like a very natural thing, but ultimately it's incredibly unnatural. We have an incredible capacity to add things into our body and into our brains to the point where our brain can just map out how a thing, like I can hop into a car, any manual car, and be like, okay, cool, this is as easy as walking or riding a bike, right?
Oh yeah, true.
Technically a very complex action, but your body figures out how to do it, your brain maps it, and it's like, cool, I got this down, it's easy, right? So that's kind of how this thumb would feel, right? If you think about it, just feeling like driving or riding a bike, it at some point it just becomes
natural.
Yeah, natural extension of you. And I think it's really interesting the sort of what was brought up about disability and prosthetics, because it is true, right, that we only ever think about prosthetics or augmentations in the context of disability, which makes sense, obviously, if you want to if you're going to choose who is getting these enhancements to humanity first, you would maybe want to do it you'd maybe want to give those enhancements to people who have difficulty with daily tasks already, right?
Yes.
So they can at least get those daily tasks done. And if, you know, let's say you're an amputee, you lose an arm, and you get a prosthetic arm that can crush rocks into dust, and you become more powerful. That's just icing on the cake, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I think it is really interesting to look at this in the context of able-bodied people, because this is something that we, again, as I said, we focus on these prosthetics as being solely for disabled people, but ultimately we could just give them to everyone.
You know who doesn't focus on it being for disabled people?
Who?
The army. They very much have been doing body enhancement, inventions, like things that allow you to lift, things that allow you to carry heavier weights, like exoskeletons. Yeah. It's just funny because, in our public life, in our normal person who doesn't work in the army life, we think of this as a disability thing, but there are whole swathes of government that are not thinking about that at all.
Yeah, but it's an interesting thing because they're using it. Well, how do we make these people more efficient for us? You know, it's not about, when it comes to the army doing exoskeletons for soldiers, I don't think they're doing it so, let's make it a little bit easier for these soldiers to carry. We need to max out how much these soldiers can carry, and we need them to stop being tired, so let's just put them in an exoskeleton. It is entirely a sort of it's just a calculation, right?
Oh yeah.
Whereas I think in this context, I don't quite think that Danny is looking to push people to their absolute limits, but
I have to use my toes.
But more trying to just make things easier for everyone, right? Because imagine how much easier things would be with a second thumb.
Yeah.
The amount of stuff that you could do would be awesome.
Carry so much more. Although you do need working legs to use them.
Just working toes?
Oh, yeah.
It's a slightly lower barrier.
As long as you've got a toe, or two toes that work.
Two working toes.
Two working toes.
I mean, I'm sure you could hook it up to a butt cheek, clench in a certain way in it.
I wonder if you could.
Sorry, I made myself shiver there with clenching my butt so hard. So that is the sort of introduction to this thumb, right?
Okay.
And that is just one part of the story. This is, as you know now, a designer, a sort of art student that's done this. But the scientists, or rather the sort of scientific study, comes in with the Plasticity Lab. So the Plasticity Lab is it's a sort of lab led by Professor Tamar Macon. I need to look up how to pronounce names. I'm very, very sorry. Essentially what they do is they study how the brain supports perceptions. So to what extent which brain areas supporting perception and action are shaped by experience, is a quote from their website. Mm-hmm. Essentially, they're looking at brain plasticity. They're looking at they've done studies on sort of how are prosthetics mapped in the brain? Are they mapped in the brain at all? Like, how does that work? And this study is looking at this sort of second or third thumb, rather, and seeing what influence that kind of has on the brain. It's a really interesting sort of, it's a really interesting lab. So they're based primarily out of the Institute of Cognitive Neuroscience at UCL.
Yeah.
They've also got strong links to Oxford, but I think they are moving in the 1st of June to the University of Cambridge. So it's sort of almost an independent lab that's just sort of working with different universities, moving to different places. But they do a lot of really interesting work, really, really cool stuff. I would definitely recommend looking them up if you can. They very, very cool. Very, very cool what they do. But also, if you can get involved with other research projects, you might be able to get a third thumb for a little bit.
Bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how they get you in. Want a third thumb?
Promise you a
free
thumb.
labour.
Yeah. Good trade, to be fair.
To be fair, you can't buy a third thumb on the market.
No.
Well, maybe you can, maybe somewhere.
Well, the market is your labour.
Yeah, well, exactly. So it is a form of payment, a very exclusive form of payment.
Ding-a-ling-ling, it's the ad bell. What are we advertising today?
We're advertising our spicy merch. I am wearing the tardigrade beanie that we're selling. It's a little tardigrade boy, little water bear going, ooh.
And if you like the tardigrade beanie, you could also get our matching tardigrade t-shirt with a little smiling tardigrade that isn't going ooh, but is going ee.
And if you like the tardigrade t-shirt, you might also like the SCI GUYS little pin badges we've made.
Wow.
They don't match, but they do say SCI GUYS, and you can show your love for SCI GUYS in your pin badge collection, and they're very cute.
Yeah, it's the actual logo.
And there's still a chance to grab our SCI GUYS calendar, which will give you a discount on the future calendar if you get it now.
And an extra episode of SCI GUYS, all about calendars.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, they will get
calendar
that.
episode, yeah.
Well, that's the spawn from ourselves. Back to the episode.
So on to the actual study itself. There are lots of projects right now trying to create additional limbs or appendages to augment the human body, and this study is just looking to see how that impacts the brain. So the questions they were looking to answer were primarily, can the brain support an extra finger? Mm-hmm. And how does the use of a robotic finger affect the hand's representation in the brain? So that sort of question is about the way that the hand is represented in the brain, in such that when you look at a sort of MRI scan of someone's brain, you can, and you get them to do something with their hands, like a specific sort of little hand task, you can see the sort of parts of the brain light up. And there are specific parts of the brain for each finger, right? Or when I say specific parts, I'm not saying like, you know, a whole sort of like cortex for a finger. I'm talking about just individual sort of parts that light up with each sort of finger. And it's fairly consistent across different people. We understand what that generally looks like, so it's a pretty good thing to study. We know how hands are represented in the brain. We know what it looks like when you're using your hand whilst getting your brain scanned.
Yeah.
That rhymes. So those are the questions they were looking to answer. A quote from the study. Here we investigated whether successful motor augmentation with an extra robotic thumb can be achieved and what its implications are on the neural representation and function of the biological hand. That's the other part as well. They want to see how it affected the hand itself, right? Like, does it work the same? Because you think about it, right? You get an extra finger for a bit, and then suddenly it's gone. Like, well, where's my extra finger? Yeah, it's like when astronauts come back down from space and they forget that they're not in 0G and they drop things.
They have to account for gravity.
Yeah, and you don't give them a baby for a good 6 months because that's
my God.
That's an
I'm just going to leave this baby right here.
I'll just
whoopsie.
Whoa!
Oh
My God.
Oh no. This doesn't usually happen.
This is the 6th one this month. So, can you think of why maybe the hand, in particular, as a part of the body, has such a strong representation of the brain, or how we're able to sort of understand it so well?
Number of nerves.
Really?
Maybe.
I just thought because we use it a lot, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's kind of the sort of prevailing theory. Yeah. When I say really, I mean like maybe.
Well, they've got to end up somewhere, haven't they?
Yeah. Hold on.
Well, I just mean that areas on the homunculus, like on the mapping of the brain, as far as I've seen, areas with greater sensitivity and greater number of nerves also have a correspondingly larger area of the brain dedicated to them.
That makes sense, yeah, because the information that you've got to process, absolutely makes sense. I think, from what I've read, it seems to be more about how often they're used and the kind of tasks that they're used for. But that, again, is probably tied in part to the nerve endings there as well. It's very complex brains. We don't understand them. I don't understand them. Who knows? I say I don't understand them. We don't understand them. There are probably scientists that do understand this. I'm not one of them, unfortunately. Yeah. So the paper also mentions that It says at the same time, hand representation has been suggested to reflect daily hand use. And it goes on to say that there are studies done on musicians, and there's this thing called musicians' dystonia, which means dystonia meaning abnormal, something abnormal going on with the muscles there, essentially, right? And so in musicians' dystonia, basically it's a quote from the article, a clinical condition involving increased finger enslavement after intensive practice of the skill. The individualized representation of the single fingers has been shown to collapse. Essentially, I think from my understanding of this is if you're a musician, like a pianist or something, and you train a lot with your fingers doing the piano, you can mess up how your brain understands how to use your fingers because you've been using it for the piano, and it's like, what am I doing?
Wait, so I suppose that's really interesting.
I can look into this for another episode, maybe, but that's what I've got from this. And when I say it messes up, you can't use your hand. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you can't use your hand anymore. But there is a condition wherein apparently extensive practice or intensive practice of the sort of musical skill can affect how your brain maps your hands. In fact, with pianists, you actually can see, or there's studies showing that pianists, the way that their hands are mapped in their brain looks sort of considerably different to, I would say, normal people, because pianists are, as we know, not normal people.
No. They use all of their fingers quite frequently. Whereas I don't really use my pinky that much.
Really? I use it to hold my phone.
Yeah, well, that's about all I do with it.
Yeah.
Gets sore though.
Bottom.
Does
it?
Mine gets sore.
I got a strong pinky, Luke. You gotta get more protein in there. Get that pinky big and strong.
Pinky.
Have you seen the epidemic of dented pinkies because people hold their phones with them?
I don't think that's true.
You don't think it's true?
I think that's.
Do you think people just have dented pinkies?
I think that's just what pinkies look like.
Oh, okay, probably.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, because if you think about it, it slots into your
I've
hands.
got a dented pinky.
Yeah,
Okay, wait, guys, put all your fingers together.
No, I've got a dented pinky exactly where I hold my phone.
Yeah,
me
hold on,
too.
Wait, do we not think that maybe
your phone just sits
comfortably
in the
there because there's a dent?
No.
And when you put your fingers together,
Not possible.
they sit comfortably.
The phone is the cause.
Because the dent wraps around the
Now,
the finger
you
that the
might be
pinky's
right
next to.
that some of my other fingers have the same dent. And that my left hand, which I don't really use to hold my phone, also has the same dent. But I'm going to continue to conclude that it's because of my phone.
And also,
It's
when
those
you look at your
pesky
hand from
phones.
either side, the dent is directly aligning with the shape of the finger that finger is adjacent to.
Listen, shut up.
It's the phone's fault.
It's because you'll be on them damn phones.
Whenever I see sort of things like that spread around, people are like, look, it's denting. People are being born with dented fingers. I'm like, okay, one, phones have not been around.
That's not how evolution works.
Phones have not been around enough, and they are not. They don't indicate, being able to reproduce enough. That's going to be a thing. It's not like a pinky dent is like what's it? Wisdom teeth, right? Where people are being born without wisdom. It just doesn't make any sense. But people believe it. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I believed it.
Yeah,
because I hold my phone a lot and I've got a dented pinky. So.
And Luke refuses to not believe it. So
I don't believe it. I just choose to loudly proclaim that I do for fun.
I mean, on a science podcast, that's almost worse.
Or I'm warning
That's
people
part
of
of
the dangers of fake news.
Okay.
By giving fake news.
By being the fake news.
By playing the character of somebody who believes doggedly in fake news.
Okay, so here is how they studied this. So they had 20 able-bodied people. They trained them over the course of 5 days, both in the lab, and I quote the paper directly, in the wild.
Sorry? In the wild.
lab and in the wild. Where would you find a wild human?
With 6 fingers.
I mean, with any number of fingers, really. Just in a home.
What does the wild mean?
Not in the lab.
So just anywhere that's not the lab.
They were going about their day-to-day lives.
Okay.
In
Yeah,
the
like a
wild.
wild human.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a better way to phrase it.
Jeff,
I just imagine
are you a
they took
brain
some people out to the
scientist?
jungle or something.
Are you more intelligent than a brain scientist?
In this specific case, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it could
in the
be,
wild is imprecise and misleading.
Yeah. I believe in the compartmentalization of intelligence.
To be fair, I believe it was in quotes. I only quoted it because I thought it was very fun. No. So it was during their day-to-day activities. They did explain further. I don't want to misrepresent the paper, although I would recommend reading it. It is interesting.
But their day-to-day activities might be in the jungle. Depends who they are.
Or in the lab.
That's so true. Which is, they definitely got 20 participants in London to come to University College London who regularly work in the jungle.
Might work in Kew Gardens.
The jungle.
It's a jungle of sorts. It depends how big you are.
It's a floral jungle.
No.
Depends how big you are.
There is no size a human could be such that Kew Gardens is a jungle.
Don't be exclusionary.
You make my life so difficult. So they also had a control group of 11 participants. What do you think they did with the control group?
Put them in a jungle?
In the jungle,
no.
Serious.
Banned them from the jungle.
Right. Sure. How about we just assume that everyone was banned from the jungle?
Okay.
They didn't observe them.
So they weren't allowed to do their day-to-day tasks.
With the study group, they had the extra thumb, and they were trained to use the extra thumb for 5 days.
The control group didn't have thumbs.
Not true.
No thumbs
at
all.
They had the thumb.
They didn't have any control of it. They just wore a spare thumb.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was just turned off, basically. It wasn't doing anything. So they wore the thumb whilst doing these tasks.
That's useless.
Yeah. They had in a mobile version of the thumb, it says. The participants ended up using the thumbs for a total of just under 3 hours a day, with just over half of that being active thumb use, which essentially means movement reported by the automatic usage logs.
That means they did more than what the logs said.
Well, they said that they said more than what the log said, but I think that's just them saying I was wearing the thumb for 3 hours that day, and they did wear it for 3 hours, but they weren't
using it for 3 hours
for the full 3 hours.
Yeah.
And there were 4 different kinds of tasks that they had to complete. 3 different types of tasks that they had to complete. Collaboration, which is using the thumb and finger together to pick things up. So
team collab.
No, so
hey man, you want to collab on picking up this cup?
No. So I'm using when I pick up my phone, I use my thumb and my fingers, right?
In a collab, yeah.
Yeah, they collaborate.
Finger featuring thumb.
And it's the same thing here. You basically the collaboration is using the third thumb in tandem with the other digits.
Yeah.
To pick something up. So they had them building towers. They had them sorting colors of blocks. Do you know
normal things you do in your everyday life?
This was the training, and the day-to-day life they would have done other things. They also did something that many children do in their day-to-day lives. Just those little boxes that have got shapes cut in them. And you've got to put the right shape.
Yes,
doing that.
Great.
I'm actually just looking at a diagram here.
Very complicated.
That genuinely just has pictures of all of the different little tasks they were doing.
Could they carry extra mugs of tea?
You are not going to believe it, but yes, they could carry extra drinking vessels.
Hey.
That is for shared supervision. Now that's using the thumb to hold more than the hand normally could, allowing for the biological fingers to be free to do another task. And one thing they had them do is hold multiple wine glasses at once.
Wow.
More because when you hold wine glasses, you can only hold maybe 3, 4 if you've worked in a bar.
Yeah. Between the fingers.
Yeah. Actually, really more if you've worked in a bar and for a long time. But yeah, they could just carry. I think in this one they're holding 12.
Wow.
I think it's about 4 or 5.
I've worked in a bar then.
Well, because that extra thumb gives you, another little holdy bit to hold on to the wine glasses. But
they can't take the wine glass anyway because they can't walk whilst using the thumb.
Walk.
No, the thumb will be closed.
Yeah,
I assume.
So you can then walk with it closed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think when you're walking I think you could probably.
I thought the reason was because the toes just start hitting the buttons.
Yeah, I think you probably turn it off.
Put the thumb on pause.
Yeah.
And it holds its current state.
Yeah.
Okay.
One would assume.
And then you unpause your thumb in order to put the glass down.
That seems like putting too much trust in a fake thumb.
Yeah.
For my liking.
I suppose.
I would not trust it.
I suppose it is putting a fair amount of trust in a fake thumb. But think about this. It's very cool that you could hold those glasses. It's not. We were talking about an arm that can crush stones into dust.
Yeah.
This can gently hold some wine glasses.
Strong.
Could you give a thumbs up and a thumbs down at the same time?
Oh my gosh, that'd be so confusing. You wouldn't be able to give...
Like a double-ended lightsaber.
Imagine,
The Darth Maul of thumbs.
But imagine it was a sort of gladiator situation. You hold the thumbs up and down. They don't know whether to kill them or not. They just put them inside a box and don't open it.
I'm getting mixed signals.
Very good.
So the last type of task they had to do was individuation. Now, that involves performing a fine motor skill task, but the biological digits are holding something that's irrelevant to the task, and the actions need to be performed by the third thumb alone.
Ooh.
So I think they had them basically just hold a ball, and they had to use the third thumb to sort of hook up little hoops and put them on like a pole, I guess. Yeah.
It's literally like they've gone to nursery.
Yeah. Well, think about it, right? When you're in nursery, you're a kid, and you're dumb in many senses, but you're dumb in your body. You don't know how to use that thing properly.
You're learning hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
Basically.
Exactly. We literally name toddlers after the weird way that they walk, which, come to think of it, is kind of cruel.
Yeah. I would have named them waddlers. They waddle.
Like a penguin.
Yeah.
It's definitely more of a toddle than a waddle.
Yeah, it's more of a toddle.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a waddle and
Waddle has a lot more left-right motion.
Yeah.
Toddle has a lot more forward motion, but it's sort of like uncontrolled, uncoordinated.
Waddling is like, it's kind of like leaning to one side and sort of lifting your leg and swinging.
Yeah.
Toddling is more kind of falling and having another leg stop you.
And when you lift your leg up a little bit too high each time.
Yeah.
So like bonk,
and
bonk, bonk.
like with like no balance, you're falling over. Waddling, I think, requires quite a bit of balance. Because you're kind of swinging
shuffling
yourself.
Exactly. Kind of shuffling forward.
It's like it's a more flamboyant shuffle, I suppose a waddle is.
Okay, yeah.
Scientifically speaking.
There you go.
So that was the three kinds of three kinds of tasks that they had to do: collaboration, shared supervision, and individuation. And you kind of understand the reason behind doing all of these different tasks, right? They specifically want to pay attention to how the participants improved over the course of the training, how the participants managed to develop their dexterity with the extra thumb, and how the interaction and use of the thumb with the biological digits the interaction and the use of the thumb with the biological digits compared to normal hand use. Essentially, what I mean there is how the thumb sort of interacted with your normal hand compared to sort of how your hand would work normally without the thumb. Yeah? That make sense?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So, interestingly, they also improved in a coordination task, which involved touching the fingers to the thumb. I don't really know how to describe it, but literally just touching your fingers to the thumb in sequence. But obviously, instead of using their normal thumb, they use the third thumb.
Mm-hmm.
At least I think that's what it is.
They have to touch the thumbs together. Well, you haven't got one.
No,
so
I think you could. I think you could touch.
I think
the
you could.
together.
Yeah.
Maybe they did. I don't know. I saw this in an image, so I had to piece it together from the different images that they showed. I can't remember if they touched the thumbs.
The thumb touching the first finger.
I feel like maybe the
And
thumbs
then the
touching
second finger.
together is a bad
And
thing,
the third
though.
finger.
I feel like it's like Ghostbusters, that you're not supposed to cross the stream sort of thing. I feel like
I
just feel like touching two thumbs together on one hand would feel very, very uncomfortable, right? Because like,
yeah, firstly because you have two thumbs.
Yeah, right. First you have to graft it onto the one hand, but seriously, I feel like
thumb war
with yourself.
Yeah,
I do think it would be weird to touch two thumbs together on either side of your hand because your thumb just is very much not used to that at all.
Used to being alone,
right? Exactly.
I'm the only thumb here. There can only be one. Thumb war. To the death.
Hence the thumb war, yeah.
It's like, no, I just mean it's like one of those situations when you push in on someone's hands and they push out on your hands.
Yes.
And then it feels like there's a ball in the middle.
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be like something like that, just really confusing your brain's proprioception.
Mm.
They also had them do some maths problems whilst using the thumb for another task. Why do you think that was?
So, like, to distract the area of the brain that does analyzing to see if it can, like, the motor cortex can do it on its own.
Yeah, you're more or less spot on there. So basically, to show that the participant could multitask, because multitasking is quite an important part of successful augmentation, if you think about it, right? So, I mean, particularly in such a way that one uses the device without thinking. So if you think about a car, when you're driving a car, you don't want to be thinking about how you're using it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to be able to multitask, right? In fact, when you're driving a car, doing anything other than driving can distract you. So I'm not saying that you should, be on your phone while you're driving or whatever.
But you can have a conversation.
Yeah. You could do maths problems whilst driving, and it would maybe be a bit more dangerous, but it's not like you're going to immediately crash because you cannot focus on it.
Brain overload.
Yeah. And even when you take into account driving, you need to be paying attention to you are doing lots of different sort of math problems in your head essentially all the time, and reading and figuring out where you're going and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Driving, you need you genuinely need to be able to move the car.
Yeah.
Completely automatically without thinking.
Yeah.
You need to. Because
your brain's distracted by judging distance and judging speed and looking for oncoming things.
Exactly.
Pedestrians and stuff. Yeah.
And if you can't hold all, I don't think you could hold all of that consciously at once. It's just too much. And the same goes for any sort of augmentation. I think it really, really helps to think of all of these different augmentations in the form of a car. Because what is a car if not just a very big sort of
extra
augmentation?
Thumb. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, we'll go with that.
If you had a very, very big thumb, you could throw yourself across London to the other part of London you need to be in.
And then die upon impact.
No, you'd land with the thumb as well.
Yeah. You'd gradually slow down with the thumb and come to a stop.
I refuse to question this further. I'm going to move on to a quote.
Giant thumb could bounce me along the road.
No, we're moving on.
Okay.
You go to a storage facility where you just put your thumb there for a bit and you pay a little toll.
Is this thumb attached to you? No?
It's detachable.
It can be. Yeah. It's not permanent. No.
Just like a car.
It's silly.
I feel... Okay. I know I said I'd move on, but my curiosity... What makes this a thumb?
It's where it's placed. What makes this thing a thumb? It's not in the right place.
What is a thumb?
Your thumb thing is in the wrong place. Okay. So what makes it a thumb?
Can you define a thumb that includes all thumbs and doesn't exclude any thumbs?
Yeah, exactly. And doesn't include anything that's not thumbs.
And doesn't include anything that's not a thumb.
I mean, I probably could, yeah.
Could you?
Well, I mean,
but it also includes this weird thumb that's on the wrong side of the hand.
No, but why would I? Wait, what? No, okay, right. I could not do that. No. My question is, are you guys not just thinking of a car? Are you describing a car?
No, it doesn't work like a car.
I'm describing literally a giant thumb, but it's so powerful it can bounce me around where I need to go.
Like imagine your imagine you just push your thumb, and it takes you off.
You know when you run and you sort of your feet hit the ground and then they bounce you off the ground and then they catch you. Just imagine that one thumb was doing that.
Yeah,
but it's a really big thumb.
Taking giant steps.
You just described running. Thank you. Moving on. We have this quote here from Paulina Kailiba, who was the first author on the paper. This again comes from Portico. Our study is the first one investigating the use of an augmentation device outside of a lab. It's the first augmentation study carried over multiple days of prolonged training, and the first to have an untrained comparison group. The success of our study shows the value of neuroscientists working closely together with designers and engineers to ensure that the augmentation devices make the most of our brain's ability to learn and adapt, whilst also ensuring that augmentation devices can be used safely. Which is very true. So it's a fairly groundbreaking ish study, I would say. I mean, this sort of third thumb sort of thing, you can understand it's 3D printed. It can be sort of molded to any hand size or shape, and given that it's controlled by the feet, you could conceivably use it to help people who have less thumbs than average. You know, what is the average number of thumbs?
Less than two. Yeah,
below 2.
Just a little bit less.
So then I suppose.
Well, now that people have 3 thumbs, it could balance. It could
I don't think it's balanced
out.
Yeah, I don't think those 20 people. I don't think those 20 people.
No, soon it could go back to that.
But the average number of thumbs for a little while was slightly higher.
Yeah, that's very true. Okay, put it this way: if you have the average number of thumbs or less, under 2, this could help you, right? And it's you can understand it's 3D printed and it fits into your shoes and whatnot. It's fairly discreet. It can be very easily used. And also, it's something that could be just given to anyone, right? Like, it's relatively inexpensive to make. The technology behind it is intelligently done, but not necessarily hugely complicated to replicate, right? So, you could see people wearing third thumbs in, 20, 30 years. For whatever
specific tasks.
The kids texting whilst they're doing whatever else. Yeah.
But you could see it in like building or something like that. You could see it in specific tasks where you're working with your hands.
Yeah. Cooking.
Yeah.
Chop 2 things.
Very true.
chop lots of things at once. I'm struggling to think of ways that people could use this, but I'm sure
there
are many uses.
You can carry more groceries home because you can have more information.
That's true. Have they not got a section of their thing about potential use cases for third thumbs?
I don't think so.
I'm very disappointed.
No, I don't think. Well, I mean, they said that it can be useful for many different I don't quite remember what they are, or if they actually went into extreme depth of a chef could use this to peel more lemons. What's peel?
Fake code, yeah.
I could not think of a other than Brussels sprouts. I could not think of a single thing that one would peel in a kitchen.
Potatoes?
Oh, that makes yeah. You can peel a potato.
Yeah.
Well done, Luke. Good job.
Not a lemon. Well, you suppose you can peel a lemon.
You can peel a lemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You usually just cut it in half, though.
And squeeze it out. I would just like to live in a world where there's an average of more than 2. Slightly more than 2 thumbs.
Yeah, because right now most people have more than the average thumbs.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's just a stupid sentence. And so we need to fix that by giving some people 3 thumbs.
Yeah. And they're all slightly behind.
I mean, you could just give everyone with fewer than 2 thumbs an extra thumb, even if they don't have a hand. Just
no,
give
because
them
it would
thumb.
never quite reach unless you found every single person with less than 2 thumbs.
So hold on. So you're just going to give it to people who don't. You're going to give a superfluous thumb instead of helping the people that need the thumbs.
No, I'll help everyone with as many thumbs as they like. What I mean is, even if you get every known person to have 2 thumbs, there might be some people you haven't found who have only 1 thumb. So the average number of thumbs will still always be below 2.
Oh yeah, but you need to then. Oh, I'm not saying don't give people third thumbs. I'm just saying don't just give people third thumbs. Give people a second thumb too.
Yes,
give
everyone, give them 3.
Yeah.
You can give people with 1 thumb 2 thumbs. Then they have 3 thumbs.
That'd be a way easier way to do it.
Give every single person an extra thumb.
Yeah.
And then so everyone will have either 1, 2, or 3.
But then there would still be people with fewer than average thumbs.
No, because most people will have 3 at that point. So it'd be closer to 3.
Yeah, but then some people would have 2 thumbs.
I'm fine with having less than the average number of thumbs, just not more than the average number
and
of
so
thumbs.
most people will have between 2 to 3 thumbs. So the average will go somewhere between 2 to 3.
Okay, that's fine. Whatever. But if you had 3 thumbs, would you just refuse to have a third thumb then?
Well, but I know that one of the thumbs is fake, so I'm not really claiming superiority.
This is nonsensical. Let's move on. So, what do you think they found out?
People
they
could
found
use their
out
thumbs.
that the brain remaps to allow for an extra limb or an extra thumb.
Well, yeah, so they thought they would see a change in how the fingers work together and that this would be represented in the brain in some way, so they did fMRIs while the participants weren't wearing the thumbs because it's a big magnet.
Mm-hmm. Nobody died this time.
Yeah.
What?
Nobody died this time.
Oh, yeah. Wow, I was really worried.
That's a back reference.
Yeah, that's a back reference. Yeah, that's from a while ago, isn't it?
That's from quite a few weeks ago.
A few weeks ago. Yeah, no one died in the MRI. No, because they weren't wearing the thumbs, of course. But the MRIs showed a change in the way that the hand was represented in the brain, specifically in the sensory motor cortex. That's where they were looking. And so this was...
they're all now fantastic pianists.
So it essentially showed a larger distinction between the fingers in the brain. So not only did they see a change in the motor control, they also saw a change in how it was represented in the brain. They saw both of those things, right? And when I say the fingers were farther apart in the brain, don't take that entirely literally. Like this is it's complex. It's a bit over my head. Just know that they changed. They changed how they were sort of mapped in the brain slightly. There wasn't a change in the toes, though. At least they didn't see any change in how the toes were represented in the brain, which suggests that the plasticity is localized, as in it doesn't change the overall mapping of the body and the brain in doing this. Mm-hmm. But people also felt a sense of ownership over the thumb, which is another key part of successful augmentation. It needs to feel like it's an extension of you. Like, again, think about your car. Yeah. If you were feeling like a little person inside of a big metal box, you wouldn't be able to, parallel park, which I can't do, but that's out of fear more than anything. So people also started feeling a sense of ownership over the thumb, like another obviously very important part of successful augmentation. It needs to feel like it's an extension of you. If you were driving a car, for example, and you didn't feel like it was an extension of you, you would just be a little person inside of a metal box.
Yes.
And you would hit that metal box on other stuff.
Everything around
often.
you.
Yeah. Because you wouldn't be able to, like, you when you're driving, you just feel like you're bigger than normal.
Yes,
you know?
100%.
Feel very powerful, very strong.
Very powerful.
Exactly.
And this is how road rage happens.
And very fast. I'm very fast and strong.
Yes.
And brave.
I get terrible road rage.
And skilled.
Speed.
And indestructible. So when they compared the test group to the control group, they found that the control group also got better at the tasks, but what this essentially means, it doesn't mean that the thumb was doing nothing, right? What it means is that you probably need a bit more practice than 5 days for the thumb to benefit from to sort of benefit from that kind of augmentation. Because what you would expect is for the people with the thumb, once it's sort of fully integrated, but they know how to use it perfectly, maybe they are getting better at the same rate or higher than the people that are doing the control with just that extra thumb that isn't doing anything, you know? In this case, they only had 5 days, so you wouldn't necessarily expect people to suddenly be master. Imagine this. You start driving a car, and 5 days later, you are amazing at it. Perfect.
To be fair, that is kind of what I did.
Yeah, but you're not a normal person.
No. As in, I booked intensive driving lessons, and I did 7 days of driving lessons, and then I passed my test.
Oh yeah, so that's
like
intensive
all
driving.
day.
But that's intensive. This is people using for the thing for about an hour and a half a day of active use, you know. And,
right, sure.
And it's probably not all that. It's probably not necessarily all these dexterous tasks or whatever.
These people just went throughout their life with an extra thumb.
Yeah.
And in public. Yeah. And people must have been looking at them like, what's going on there?
You would look at someone with an extra thumb and think it was a prosthetic. You know, like because they've lost a thumb.
But a prosthetic extra thumb on the wrong side.
You can only tell by looking at something if there's like 3 of them. If someone had 6 fingers instead of 5, you wouldn't necessarily immediately notice.
I agree, but you would be able to tell quite quickly that it's on the wrong side of the hand. Because we're so used to seeing hands. Like, I don't think people would. Standard.
But also thumbs stand out. Like you've noticed there's 2 thumbs.
I don't think you would necessarily.
Did you not?
I think if you're glancing. I mean, if you're looking, sure.
I feel like you'd glance and be so surprised that the hand, because you have never seen a thumb on the wrong side of the hand.
I think you'd do a double take.
Yeah.
But then you would. I think the fact that people don't want to look at people who are disabled would then there's lots of different elements at play here.
Yeah,
there's a double take, and then you realize, oh my god, maybe this person's disabled, so you stop staring at them because you don't want to make them feel like you're staring at them because they're disabled.
Yeah,
but then you're just averting your gaze and you're making it worse.
Yeah,
you know.
Sure.
If you had kids with you though, kids would be like, "Mummy, why does that man have 6 fingers?" Because kids will just stare all day. Like,
yeah, they would.
What's going on?
Although they'd probably say it in a lot more hurtful way, you know?
Yeah, they'll find a way to insult you.
Why has that weird man got more fingers than is normal? What's wrong with him?
Why is that freak? That
is genuinely how kids are.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the study. So what Danny Claude has said is that our study shows that people can quickly learn to control an augmentation device and use it for their benefit without overthinking. We saw that while using the third thumb, people changed their natural hand movements, and they also reported that the robotic thumb felt like a part of their own body. What this essentially means is that body augmentation like this, the sort of non-invasive kind of thing, can be very useful. It can be done, you know, in such a way that it drives some kind of neural change. But what concern this raises is that you do not want to change the way that the brain maps the hand and then have it so that you take the thumb off and suddenly you don't know how to work your hand. Like, you don't want it to be a situation. Do you want to get into Luke's car and I can't drive anymore?
Yeah.
You don't want that situation for when you take off your fake thumb, right?
Yes.
Because that would then just result in people being dependent on these extra thumbs, so that they can use sort of, you know, their 4 thumbs at once, I suppose. That's something that they kind of bring up there, that you know, you need to be very careful about this. And we'll probably end with this quote: "Evolution hasn't prepared us to use an extra body part, and we have found that to extend our abilities in new and unexpected ways, the brain will need to adapt to the representation of the biological body." Now that is from Professor Macon, or Macon from Portico, and that is it. That is the study on the third thumb and how it changes your brain. Yeah.
I kind of want one.
You want one? I honestly want one. Yeah. I feel like it might be possible to get one. Maybe if this episode does really well, maybe we could get in contact and maybe do a quick little video with the lab. If this episode does very well, though. If it doesn't do well, then
you have to show us that you care.
Yeah, you have to. This needs at least, I don't know how many likes our videos usually get, but this needs at least
a lot.
10 million likes. Is that too much?
That's too much.
Might be under asking, I think.
2,000, 1,000 likes?
Great. I think that's all right.
1 to 2,000 likes.
Okay.
And also, the like is a thumbs up. So if you
It's a
give us a
thumbs
thumb,
up.
then we'll
Oh.
give you a thumb.
But no thumbs down.
No. The thumb needs to be pointing
just the
up.
one thumb. Thank you.
That now brings us to the quickfire quiz.
Dun 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 dun. Digit edition. A digit edition. A digit edition.
The rules are the same as always. I will ask one question between the two of you. That is one question.
I'm so sorry.
Between the two. The first person to buzz in with the correct answer after finish asking the question wins. What do they win, Jamp?
A third thumb.
No, Jamp, we can't. I cannot.
If this video gets 1,000 likes.
Stop.
He said it now.
Stop promising things that I cannot give.
I'm so sorry.
Luke, what is your buzzer? Jamp, what is your buzzer?
And that's the thumb bending.
You need to oil your thumbs, man.
I know, I'm
Get
sorry.
some WD-40 for that.
So, my question for you both is, how does one control the third thumb? Oh, I saw Jamp's thumb move first.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, I actually was controlling it with my toes, which is the way that you move the third thumb.
Correct. Well done.
Wow.
You win nothing.
But a third thumb.
No.
If this video gets enough likes, then you can get a third thumb. Maybe you can play with it for a little bit.
Please like the video. I want my third thumb.
Well, that is it from us, I think. But before we go, we'd like to thank all of our patrons with a very special thank you to executive producers Rosa Rodriguez and Daniso. And thank you for watching. You can find the full references for this episode down in the description. Subscribe for new episodes every Sunday, and why not leave us a nice wee comment? You can support the pod at patreon.com/SciGuys, or you can find and contact us at SciGuysPod on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, here on YouTube, and at SciGuys on TikTok too. Or you can send us an email at sciguyspod@gmail.com.
That's sciguyspod@gmail.com.
SciGuysPod
@gmail.com. You can follow me at Nutcore everywhere.
You can follow me at Jamkin everywhere.
You can follow me at Luke Cutforth everywhere.
Oh, goodbye.
Oh, goodbye.
Oh, goodbye.
Oh.